There is a kind of movement that does not appear in press conferences, does not surface on official social media channels, and is not openly discussed by directors. It happens behind the scenes, in private conversations, strategic phone calls, and meetings that rarely become public. And when that sort of movement involves one of the most important names in the Newcastle United squad, the mood among supporters changes completely. In recent days, a new rumour has begun to circulate, and it could significantly impact the club's future. While the season continues, with decisive matches and major objectives still at stake, a story has started to gather momentum away from the pitch. It is not about an injury, nor an officially announced contract renewal. It is something bigger, something involving multi-million-pound figures and one of the most powerful clubs in European football. When continental giants begin casting their eyes over talent at St. James Park, it is impossible to ignore the potential consequences. And before revealing exactly who is at the center of this possible storm, it is worth saying one thing. If you follow everything happening at Newcastle on a daily basis and want to keep receiving updates, delivered with context and responsibility, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps the content reach more supporters and strengthens this passionate Magpies community. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next explains a great deal. In recent weeks, speculation has begun to build around a player regarded as a key figure in the club's project. At first, there were isolated rumors. Then came whispers from behind the scenes. Soon after, comments that did not entirely rule out the possibility of a move in the European summer window. When that sort of narrative starts to gather pace, there is usually genuine interest somewhere in the background. And that is precisely what appears to have happened. The name at the center of this fresh wave of speculation is Sandro Tonali. According to information published by the Italian outlet NEWCASTLE, Real Madrid are prepared to submit a £65 million offer to Newcastle United next summer for the Italian midfielder, described as a world-class player. In addition, the Spanish club would reportedly be willing to present an equally elite salary package to persuade the player. The report quickly gained traction in the Italian press and began crossing borders. It is not the first time Tonali's future has been discussed. Since the closing stages of the previous transfer window, his name has been linked with other Premier League giants, particularly following speculation involving Arsenal. Although those rumors were dismissed shortly after emerging, they opened the door to further narratives regarding the player's long-term commitment to Newcastle's project. Part of this instability in the headlines intensified following comments from Tonali's agent, Giuseppe Riso. While he stated that the player is happy at Newcastle, his remarks were interpreted by many as leaving the door slightly open for potential future negotiations. In modern football, the line between sporting satisfaction and financial opportunity can be extremely thin, especially when substantial sums are involved. It is crucial to stress that, at this stage, there is no official indication that Tonali has asked to leave or expressed any internal dissatisfaction. On the contrary, reports suggest he has settled at the club and remains committed to his teammates. However, when a club such as Real Madrid is mentioned as a possible suitor, the situation inevitably takes on a different dimension. The Spanish side's market power and pulling force cannot be overlooked. If the figures reported by Tutujuve are accurate, the initial proposal would stand at around £65 million. But this raises an important point. Newcastle paid approximately £55 million to sign Tonali in 2023. Since then, despite facing challenges and natural fluctuations in form, his reputation as an elite midfielder within the European landscape remains intact. A profit of just £10 million would hardly reflect the strategic value he represents within the club's long-term sporting vision. British media sources had previously suggested that Newcastle would value the player in the region of £80 to £100 to £100 million should they be compelled to consider offers. That bracket appears far more aligned with the current market, especially when factoring in his age, international experience and influence in midfield. From that perspective, £65 million feels, to many supporters, like a starting point well below what the club's hierarchy would realistically accept. This is where the inevitable question arises. Would the club even be willing to negotiate? The answer is far from straightforward. Newcastle are in the midst of an ambitious rebuilding project, with clear aims of consolidating their place among the Premier League's elite and maintaining regular European competition. Letting go of a player deemed fundamental would only make sense in the face of a truly irresistible proposal, financially and strategically. It is also important to consider the origin of the information. The primary outlet directly linking Real Madrid to a £65 million bid is Tutujuve, based in Italy. Historically, sections of the Italian media have shown a tendency to generate speculation involving Italian players at major European clubs. That does not automatically render the report inaccurate, but it does require caution when assessing the weight of the rumor. At the same time, the consistent mention of Tonali in potential transfer discussions highlights how the market perceives him as a highly valued asset. When agents begin shaping public narratives, it can sometimes be part of a broader strategy repositioning a player within the market, encouraging improved contractual terms or testing interest from other elite sides. If you have followed the story thus far, it is clear this is not just another routine rumor. We are talking about a footballer who symbolizes a key phase in Newcastle's new era, a signing that signaled international ambition. That is precisely why stories like this generate such tension. For those who appreciate in-depth analysis and want to stay updated on every development surrounding this potential negotiation, subscribing ensures you do not miss any significant updates. From Newcastle's perspective, the public stance is likely to remain firm. The club do not appear to be under urgent financial pressure to sell, particularly given the investment already made and the medium-term sporting blueprint. Furthermore, losing a key figure would necessitate a replacement of similar caliber, which in today's market would also command a significant fee. However, there is one unavoidable reality. When rumors persist for weeks and spread across multiple outlets, they rarely vanish entirely. Even if this specific proposal does not materialize, Tonali's name may continue to be linked with Europe's biggest clubs until the summer window officially opens. That is simply the nature of elite-level football. Between fully believing and completely dismissing the story, the most sensible approach is to monitor the next developments closely. If Real Madrid were to formalize an offer, the conversation would shift into far more concrete territory. Until then, what exists are reports from the Italian press and an atmosphere of speculation fueled by behind-the-scenes commentary. And as every detail can change rapidly in modern football, staying informed makes all the difference. If you want to follow every update, every rumor, and every official confirmation involving Newcastle United, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, you will always be one step ahead when it comes to the future of the Magpies.